What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Today is Thursday, May 4th, Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, all that corny shit. Big Star Wars guy, never cared for that corny ass saying, but hey, Washington Commanders, baby. We are a week away from rookie mini camp. On-field drills started at off-season workouts this week, and the topic of today's video is a great problem Washington has to look forward to in the coming year, the coming season, where we have a contract year clash. A clash of the dogs. I would say clash of the Titans, but there's another team called that. See, me, I'm a big proponent of the sayings competition breeds excellence. Iron sharpens iron. And it is an amazing problem to have that we have to decide which one of our edge rushers, both of our edge rushers, or none of our edge rushers are going to be signed to a long-term deal here in Washington. I think signing both of them is a little bit of a far-fetched idea that really doesn't feel too realistic to me. But, there's always a glimmer of hope that that could happen, especially if both go crazy in the 2023 season upcoming. But I think most likely where we're headed is one of these guys get signed or none of these guys get signed. But I think one of them is going to show out this year. And I'm going to get to exactly who I think that is in just a second. Montez Sweat, 4 years experience. He's going into his 5th year option season. He's been all reliable in the edge rushing room here in Washington, meaning there is production there. He has a high pressure rate every season, and he occasionally wrecks games. Not a high output of sacks. He hasn't had double digits yet. In fact, Washington has not had a double-digit edge rusher since the 2018 season when our all-time sack leader, Ryan Kerrigan, had 13 sacks. But last year, Daron Payne went crazy on the inside. The interior of this defense has been the heartbeat. The pulse has been the interior guys. The Alabama wall, a.k.a. Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Allen had 9 sacks in 2021. Daron Payne, his uptick of production in 2022, he is the case of the positive side of buyers beware when it comes to contract year guys. And after not picking up Chase Young's 5th year option last week, what Washington did is made a contract year clash between Chase Young and Montez Sweat. They're both in a contract year now. They're both not currently under contract after this season. So they're both competing for one extension, I believe. Could be 2, but it looks like they're competing for one extension. And the fact that we traded up for an edge rusher in the 4th round of the draft says that we could be putting in the proper steps to, or a succession plan for if we lose one of these guys or both of them in the 2024 offseason. But as far as money goes, our interior guys have both broke the bank. They've both backed up the Brinks trucks in the last years. Jonathan Allen received a 4-year, $72 million contract, 18 a year annually. Daron Payne just got a 4-year, $90 million deal, getting $22.5 million annually. Take out the Aaron Donald deal, and Daron Payne was the highest paid defensive tackle before that market was again broke. Washington actually used foresight and vision and set the precedent and set the market for other guys like Quinnen Williams and Jeffrey Simmons to get their money afterwards. It's nice to see us proactively getting things done and getting ahead of the curve, because we're usually behind, we're usually sitting on our hands, and we're usually reactionary based on what's happening around us in the league. But this is a tricky conversation when it comes to Montez Sweat versus Chase Young, because you can argue consistency versus ceiling. Chase Young, we took him with the 2nd pick of the COVID draft, 2020, the COVID year, where he absolutely went berserk, and he was slapped with that polarizing generational talent tag after absolutely wrecking the Big Ten at Ohio State for the duration of his college career. He was a monster. He was an animal, and he was expected to come in and be a game wrecker, bulldozer, guy that you're going to have to game plan around every time you play Washington. In his rookie year, he got right to the shits. Right to him. Won Rookie of the Year, wrecked games, forced turnovers, had a motor, an endless motor, and his face was seen worldwide. Everybody knew who Chase Young was. He was in all the commercials. He was in all of the NFL branding, and the guy is just an absolute. His personality, he exudes of superstar charisma. That guy's never gonna miss a photo op. A camera never misses him, and he's this superstar being here in Washington, which only adds to the allure that he's from the area, from the DMV. So he was a local legend before he played one snap here in DC, and he absolutely lit it up his rookie year. He ended up missing one game his rookie year, going over to Montez Sweat, 6'6", 262-pound dog. Mississippi State Bulldog, just like our first round pick Emmanuel Forbes, and the mouth of the South, Fred Smoot. So he came in with, he was a projected top 15, top 20 guy, especially after he lit up the combine running a 4.41, which I believe at the time was the fastest for a defensive end at the moment in combine history. 4.41, but effort concerns, a couple of clashes with some coaches, and some alleged heart condition that was supposedly going to deter or alter his long-term playing career. We have not seen the fruits of that labor come to fruition yet, just like we haven't seen Jonathan Allen's arthritic shoulders that made him slide down the board from a top 3 pick to the teens to Washington when he was drafted. There's very phantom injury concerns that pop up around the time of the draft, and Montez Sweat, he was affected by those phantom concerns and slid down the board. And Washington had used its first round pick on Dwayne Haskins Jr., God rest his soul, that year. And to appease the football guys who were upset about the drafting of Dwayne Haskins, Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen traded back up into the first round of the 2019 draft and took Montez Sweat in the Colts spot at pick 26 to come be a defensive end here in Washington. And he's been nothing but a modicum of consistency since he's been here in DC. He's gonna give you at minimum 7 sacks a year. The only season he went under 7 sacks, he was at 5, and it was because he's missed 7 games that year. He has played in 59 of the available 66 games. He missed 7 due to injury back in 2021. Chase Young has appeared in 27 of the 50 games that have been played since he's entered the league. So durability-wise, Montez Sweat takes the cake, because Chase Young not only tore his ACL, he had to get a patella graft on it and had to take some of the patella tendon from his other knee to repair that one. So his ACL tear was not a normal ACL tear. And I think the worst part of the argument for Chase Young and the injury concern was that the 9 games he played preceding to his injury versus Tampa Bay in 2021, he didn't look great. His body language was off. The first few games of the season, he looked winded and out of shape, and he just didn't look like that same leader. He didn't look as charismatic and as confident in his abilities in his second year, which happens, Sophomore slumps happen. They're very prevalent in this league. But Chase Young didn't look like the Chase Young of his rookie year in 2021. And that's coming in the same offseason where Guy didn't show up to voluntary workouts. I know the word voluntary, put it in quotes. You don't have to be there, but when you're the face of the franchise, when you're the guy everybody looks up to, the team's supposed to march to the sound of your drum, you might want to be there at voluntary workouts. You might not want to miss it just to be shooting eBay commercials and working with your own team, but debatable. As long as you produce on Sundays, none of that is even a real topic. None of it is even a real topic. But I think where this argument gets interesting is that NFL teams do this draft position bias shit. So we took Chase Young with the second pick, so he has to be the priority because we took him with the second pick of the draft. You're expected to be a blue chip player, potential gold jacket wearer, and they have to fall on the sword and die with the lie and die on that hill of you because where they selected you. But the better player and more consistent, durable player during their tenure at the moment is Montez Sweat. Is Sweat an absolute game record? Sometimes he is. His pressure rate is up there in the top 7 of the league the last couple years. And Montez Sweat's biggest concern is that he has problems finishing once he does to get to the quarterback. High motor, so he gets there. He gets there in a hurry. He gets there in a heartbeat. He gets the quarterbacks on a regular basis. Watch the Tennessee Titans game and Montez Sweat. That was his magnum opus in the NFL so far. He absolutely wrecked Ryan Tannehill in the Tennessee Titans offense that entire game. And a strong suit of both of these guys they are both excellent in the run game. They're both excellent. They run down plays. They shut down their side of the field. They are dogs in the run game. But we need pass rush production coming off that edge, especially considering we have two elite guys on the interior. Your job is kind of made easy for you as an edge on this team. And I believe in a contract year situation, Montez Sweat is going to do similar to what Daron Payne did last year. Daron Payne was getting 2.5 to 4 sacks a season. He had a 5-sack season, a 4.5 season, and a 3 season. He was not the biggest ball production guy. Contract year comes, 11.5 sacks. Our first double-digit sack output since Ryan Kerrigan, who's now the assistant D-line coach of the team behind Jeff Zanina. And I hope they take all of the tutelage from Ryan Kerrigan, because Chase Young and Montez Sweat, they're freak athletes. Ryan Kerrigan had to get it out the mud. He was not a freak athlete. He was not born with the genetic lottery, the freakish traits that they have. He had to get it out of skill, technique, and he's our all-time sack leader because of it. So if there's anybody that's going to get through to these guys on their technique, using their hand and developing a thorough pass rush plan, it is Ryan Heartbreak Kid HBK Kerrigan. And I think Montez is going to follow in the footsteps of Daron Payne in this 2023 season. If I had to make a prediction on what their statistical production was going to be for this season, I'm going to go out on a limb here. This is probably a scorching hot take. I'm taking Montez Sweat to lead the team in sacks this year with 13.5 sacks. I think he's going to come out, he's going to set the tone, and he's going to say, give me my money, back up the Brinks truck to the former Mississippi State Bulldog at season's end. But that's not saying I don't expect a good season out of Chase Young. If we can get 17 weeks out of Chase Young this year, I think he has a bounce back. And I think his bounce back season is around 8.5 sacks. And that's not a bad season at all. He won the Rookie of the Year with 7.5. Chase Young's impact is far more detail than just sack production. Is he getting strip sacks? Is he getting tackles for loss? Is he setting up other guys for getting sacked? Chase Young, his rookie year, he got a lot of hockey assist sacks. In hockey assists, you get an assist if you're the guy that led to the assist that scored the point. If you're the guy who forced the quarterback to take that step inward so one of your interior guys can get the sack, that matters too. It's more than just specifically sack production. And that's why I think Chase Young has a bounce back season of 8 to 8.5 sacks. But when you look at it in a big picture lens and not just a sample size bubble, is 8.5 sacks from your 4-year guy that you took with the second overall pick going to cut it for you? Is that worth getting the big bucks? Because how I look league-wide, I look at how the edge market is going to look before I see these contracts, and I'm looking at the top 10 salaries of edge rushers in the league right now, starting with TJ Watt, Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, Khalil Mack, Max Crosby, Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, Cameron Jordan, Harold Landry, and Shaq Barrett. The annual values of these deals, let's start from the bottom. Let's say, because say we try to get both of these guys done. One of these guys is going to be on the higher end of the edge market, and one of these guys is going to be right at the median. The median of the edge market is 17 to 17.5 million a year. But let's call a spade a spade. A guy in their athletic prime in age around 24 to 26 years old, they're not looking to take hometown discounts because you drafted them. They're looking to maximize their potential earning. So Shaq Barrett, Harold Landry, and Cameron Jordan are all making 17 to 17.5 million a year with 3 to 5 year deals. Harold Landry is getting 87 in total. Shaq Barrett and Cameron Jordan are getting 52 and 68 million. Now let's look at the top of the edge rush market. And not to mention, Nick Bosa is about to reset the fuck out of the edge rush market when he gets paid, because he's all world and he's the best edge in the league, and he's just coming off a defensive player of the year season. Also, he tore his ACL in the second year of his career. He's now wrecking the league. So we're not giving injury excuses to guys. I understand the patella tendon makes it very blurred, and when it comes into the conversation of he hasn't got back to normal yet, but Nick Bosa is absolutely killing the league. TJ Watt is getting $28 million a season. Joey Bosa is getting $27 million a season. Myles Garrett's getting 25. Khalil Mack's getting 23. Max Crosby's getting 23 and a half. Bradley Chubb's getting 22 million. Von Miller's getting 20, and he's like 100 years old, and he still has some of the most elite bend in the league. So where do Montez Sweat and Chase Young fall into that mix? Deron Payne made himself so formidable that he was able to get a top 3 defensive tackle thing. So let's say Montez Sweat does follow in what I just said and gets 13 and a half sacks this year. He's at minimum going to get around $23 to $25 million a season, meaning we have one defensive tackle making 18 a year, one defensive tackle making $22.5 million a year, and now an edge rusher making 23 to 25 or more million a year on one unit. How the hell are we going to pay both of these guys? Chase Young's not taking under $17 million a year if he has a solid year. Even if he doesn't have a solid year, his name rings bells league-wide, and some guys who have coaches' ego feel like he's still the guy coming out of the draft. So somebody's going to give him something, but I don't think there is a tangible or feasible way that we can sign both of these guys unless both of them took a contract for around 16 and a half to 17 million a season. I think that's the only way that gets done, and I see no reason why their agent would allow that to happen. It would be criminal malfeasance on their part to let their clients go out and do that just to help a team out. Not gonna happen. But those are the statistics, and those are the contract breakdown of what the edge market's looking like for the 2024 offseason. An offseason where KJ Henry and Parlay Poppy Shaka Tony are going to be pretty much the only guys under contract for the 2024 season. So Washington has some serious decision making when it comes to the edge rush position. We traded up in the 4th round. We traded 2 future picks for KJ Henry, and it's getting dicey here, man. It's getting dicey. Montez Sweat, there's been maturity concerns. Every time Ron's mentioned the word maturity over the years, it's been about Montez Sweat, but those rumblings seem to silence in 2022. So maybe he's turned a corner maturity-wise. With Chase Young, it's been commitment, and he definitely set back that knee injury last year in the summer working out with Von Miller. I'm not sure a lot of people understand that. The team retracted that statement because they did not want that coming out because it looked bad on their part and it looked bad on his part. That shit most certainly happened. But there's always a contract year buyer beware. Some guys have a unsustainable uptick of production when their contract's expiring, and they suddenly go out and look like gangbusters when that has not been what the total body of work has looked like during their tenure with the team. So that's always something to keep in mind. But Montez Sweat, you've been the consistent one since you've been here. Chase Young, you have the crazy high ceiling that is all world, and the fans still believe that he can be that guy that we took number 2 overall, despite the fact that his trajectory as a player is looking very similar to former number 1 pick Jadeveon Clowney. I got my boy in the group chat, my boy Marshall, shout out to him at EST Command on Twitter. He calls Chase Blonde Clowney in the chat. And while it's funny, it hurts because we want to see local guys succeed, but we all thought Chase was going to be the one. Can he still be the one? That question is remained to be answered, and I want to see what these guys look like playing with their backs against the wall and playing with everything on the line in 2023. That is the whole narrative of the 2023 season. Everybody's job is on the line this year. This may be Ron Rivera. This most likely will be Ron Rivera's swan song in DC. New management is here. We got new ownership coming here who did not draft or hire any of these players, coaches, or front office members. Everybody's ass is on the line. So I need them to play, coach, and scout with their asses on fire because y'all need to impress the new ownership and y'all need to earn your contract extensions. I'm ready for the 2023 season. How about y'all? That's all I got for right now. Choose your fighter. Montez Sweat versus Chase Young. In a beautiful world, we could live in harmony and kumbaya and get both of these guys signed to top of the market deals, especially with the TV money and the contracts going up and the salary cap increasing at a rapid pace. But in a realistic world, we're going to have to choose one of these guys. Let me know in the comments who you think's the guy's going to be chosen in 2024, and let me know some stat predictions. Let me know your Chase Young and Montez Sweat stat predictions for 2023. Put them in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers. We're about 150 away from 7,000 on the channel. Thank you for rocking with your boy. Until next time, Commander Rio